Welcome back to Messengers, episode 3, still with Michael Feely. I've been working on a film about the Holy Grail, so I was very pleased that Michael suggested he also wanted to have a chat about the Grail lands, about Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland. I went there and I really loved the energy there. So Michael, what made you want to speak about that?
Again, it's a fascinating subject, and many different people have their own views as to what the Grail is, what the Holy Grail is, the Chalice of Christ.
Yeah. Some say it's the search that matters.
It is, and see, with me, when there's something that I want to look into, when there's a fascination, then I can't not look into it, and I can't not dig in deep. And when I mean deep, I don't just mean doing a search on Google or Bing, because that gets you to a certain level, but you know there's several levels below that kind of search. So just like anything else, you know, I love the Da Vinci Code movie, Rosslyn Chapel featured in that, the Holy Grail, who is Christ, who is Mary Magdalene, what is the Grail? It's just one of these fascinations of mine that I just had to look into.
Okay, and so what is your take then on what the Holy Grail is? Because I've got, you know, the journey that I've had has taken me to a point where I went, okay, yeah, that resonates. I think that's it for me. But then I speak to someone else and they make something else of it again. So I'm very curious to hear what your take is.
Well, my take is really, when you look at things as a macro and micro, in our body we have a respiratory system, we have a blood pumping system, we have a heart that pumps the blood all around the veins and the arteries of the body. So when you take that onto a slightly larger scale, and you have planet Earth, for instance, you have what are known, some people call ley lines, which are really the arteries and the veins of the planet. Now there is an energy that is pumping through them just like the blood of the body, and that is magnetic energy. So where you have tectonic plates that open up in the Earth, it is an amplified magnetic energy that is pumped around the centres. Now, we have all over the world in the monoliths and monuments spiritually designed buildings at certain intersections. So wherever you find a Stonehenge or a pyramid or whatever, these are on the intersections of these ley lines. When we see domes around the world, St. Paul's Cathedral, the Vatican, Washington DC, domes are really known as dragon eggs, which are marking the intersections of magnetic ley lines. So you have dragon lines, which then brings into George and the dragon, because George means cleanser of the land, and the dragon is the dragon lines. So there are certain people who are guardians of these, which were Knights Templars. They were guardians of the grids. These dragon eggs are also called chalice points, and there's certain rituals that were evoking energies from God's worlds into the chalice points, and that was being distributed around the planet, almost a planetary initiation through the grids. Now the rituals that were doing this largely were inside Rosslyn Chapel by the Knights Templars, and it was the Templar dragon knowledge, because they understood the dragon lines. So your Holy Grail is the sonic blueprint of creation, and the guardians of that were the Knights Templars, and they were stationed at Rosslyn. So when you look at the significance...
So you say the Holy Grail, the blueprints of sonic creation.
Yes.
What does that look like to you then?
It can take on different forms. Certainly when you look at constellations and stars, and we see them as individual things without connection, there's actually light lines that connect stars. We can't see them because, again, they're on a different frequency to what we can see. So if you can imagine, when you look at stars, it's almost like a geometric grid, and there's no gaps. You know, they're all connected by light lines.
Yeah.
So when you look at ley line energy, it is also energy of light, but it is also magnetic energy, and it goes all the way through the circuit. Now this creates a planetary initiation. In other words, it controls the consciousness of the planet. Now that can take us back to the Matrix. It can take us back to who controls this energy, can control the consciousness level of humanity. And it was the Templars who were the guardians of the Grail. So you have this energy that's coming down and it's being distributed across the world through these, amplified by these spiritually designed buildings, your Stonehenges, your pyramids, and that was creating the planetary initiation of sort.
So, from what I understand is that a lot of these satanic rituals also take place on these power points. So these power points are used for both benevolent and malevolent purposes, and
Yeah.
considering we're in a not very nice matrix, generally they've been taken over by the control system. Am I correct?
They have. Over the last couple of years, there's been talk by the UK government of putting a dual carriageway beneath Stonehenge. Now, anybody that's been to Stonehenge, there's miles and miles of fields all around. So conceivably, you could put a dual carriageway there. So why do they want to put it directly underneath Stonehenge? Because it disrupts the energy lines. That's why. Because they're trying to control part of their matrix, which is part of the grid system. So that is your Holy Grail. So why Scotland? Jerusalem is not in the Middle East. The true Jerusalem, the true Holy Lands is Scotland. And when you look at the likes of Palestine, Palestine means between two walls, which is Hadrian's Wall and the Antonine Wall.